Welcome back, Braves country, to the seventh episode of Bloopers Brigade. I'm Chase Earl, as always, joined by my co-host Jake Gordon at Can't Guard Jake on Twitter. Jake, as we speak right now, the Braves are taking on the Diamondbacks. Charlie Morton on the mound in Game 4, looking for a sweep. Hopefully, go 3.5 games before the Phillies play the Pirates tonight. And last week, that we lose to the Rockies. We lose 4 in a row to the Rockies and Giants. Now we win 4 in a row. That's kind of been the story of the Braves season. But hopefully you get the job done. How are you feeling about, this final we're about to embark on?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the other night too, man. The Diamondbacks, like they don't want to win right now. Like they had their pitcher out there, the starter. I think it was Mejia was his name. He gave up 3 doubles in a row, and they didn't have anybody warming up. And I think they had a lead at the time. Like it's just take care of business, go out there and just beat an inferior team, because you have a game, you have a real uphill battle tomorrow going against San Diego and the 5-4, not even half game that you got to play. So you got to get this one where you can get it.
Yeah, and you got Morton on the mound, who's been Mr. Consistent. I will say Max Fried, I think, has kind of taken the role of the ace over the last few months. I think he has like a sub-2 ERA since June. I mean, he's been absolutely terrific, but Morton's been the guy who every day goes out there and gives you 6-7 innings of 1 or 2 run ball. I call him Daddy Morton. He's 38 years old. He's just still balling, throwing 98 with a nasty curveball. Nothing's changed. Aging like fine wine. The guy's absolutely nasty. We got Bumgarner on the mound for the Diamondbacks. He no-hit us in that 7-inning game earlier this year. So maybe this one has the makings of dandy, but Bumgarner hasn't been good this year. He hasn't been good in the last 2 years. I think he has close to a 5 ERA. So like you said, this is a game the Braves should take care of business of, hopefully get 3.5 games up by the time we end this podcast. And, we get to watch Philly and Pittsburgh tonight as they start their 3-game set with the Pirates.
I'll be watching Davis Mills absolutely tear it up, but I'll have a close eye on it for sure.
Yeah, GAC product. Davis Mills getting the start for the Texans against Carolina. Who you got in that one, by the way?
I don't know, man. I'm 2-0 on betting the Texans this year, so I want to see Davis Mills do well, just because I was so high on him before the draft, and it's just going to make me look smart. So I'm going to go with the Texans.
It definitely has a feel of a trap game, right?
Because I think Carolina has somebody pretty big next week, don't they?
And I don't know who they have next week, but they absolutely dominated the Saints. So they're coming off a huge win, which a game that I actually had as a lock for the Panthers last week, and I had the Saints the week before against the Packers. I've kind of been able to read this trend well because, the Saints were coming off a game where, they hadn't been home in like 3 weeks because of Hurricane Ida. They were missing 8 coaches off COVID, and, they get their ass kicked on the road. That's kind of how the NFL works. The Panthers aren't a bad team, and they should have taken advantage of those, advantage that they were given, and they did. So I could see the Texans hanging around. Obviously, I don't know who what's their new coach's name? I know he was the Ravens tight end coach.
David Culley. He was the wide receivers coach.
Wide receivers. But he's obviously got those boys playing hard. I mean, no Tyrod Taylor, but it's not like he's a game changer. So
yeah, Carolina has Dallas next week, so it could be a little bit of a sleeper game on a Thursday. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, I think you get that hook too with them, right? You get the 7.5. That's what that's what it is. Yeah, so you get the hook. Yeah, I think maybe riding with the Texans is the way to go. But man, that Joe Brady and Matt Rule, that looks to be a powerful combo out there. Out in Carolina.
They're better than the Falcons, so
yeah, I'm a little jealous. Maybe Joe Brady should be the next head coach of the Falcons. I'm trying to get Joe Brady.
We were way ahead of that tape.
I'm trying to get Joe Brady on all my teams. Like I'm trying to fire Coach O and get Joe Brady as the head coach at LSU. I'm trying to get him everywhere.
He's going to the Bengals. I can tell you that right now. I'll tell you that for free. He's going to be the Bengals head coach opening day 2022.
I could see that. That would be cool. I mean, Bengals are kind of my second team with Burry, so I'd love a little Brady Burrow reunion. Back to the task. Yeah, back to the things at hand. We did have a lot of good things that happened. It's great to get those 3 wins against the Diamondbacks, and hopefully we get a 4th one tonight. But some huge things happened. First, Ian Anderson pitches an absolute gem. First pitcher since August 28th, not named Fried or Morton, to make it past the 6th inning. So that was huge. He goes 7 innings. He retires 17 in a row. Vintage Ian Anderson gets 8 strikeouts too. I know it's the Diamondbacks, crappy lineup, but they got some MLB players on there. And anytime you pitch that well, you can talk about that and just feel good about it. And hopefully this is the Anderson we get the rest of the way, because if he can be that number 3 guy behind Fried and Morton, that's tough in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen what Ian Anderson can do in the playoffs. He was lights out last year. He was absolute nails. And the Braves are going to need him. They're going to need him. There's really no other way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, for a while there, I was kind of thinking, it might be that number 3 starter. But if we have this Anderson, there's no doubt he's the number 3 between behind those two guys, and it's huge. I mean, it's huge. I hope we're obviously going to see him a couple more times before the end of the season. But if he ends the season well, I'm going to feel really confident going into the playoffs. So to see him pitch like that, we've been waiting for that. It was really good to see.
Yeah, definitely. Who do you think's gonna? Well, this is kind of getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but it kind of just came to my mind. Who do you think is gonna like? How do you think Brian Snitker's gonna handle this game Friday? Since that is the next game, well, I guess it's not too far ahead. But you talk about the finishing the 7-inning game with San Diego. What do you think Brian Snitker's gonna do there? Like, do you think he'll just like throw Minter because I think they only have 2 batters?
Yeah, well, is it? I think they have an inning and a two-thirds left, right? Inning
Well,
and
I think
two-thirds left.
I think the Braves bat 3 times, and I think the Padres bat twice. I don't know. It's something
I
like
don't know
that.
what they're going to do. I mean, I would throw my best relievers out there. I'd try to go out there and win it. That would be a nice one to win. I would throw my best relievers out there. But you never know with Snicker. That guy throws out the bums when it's a one-run game. So you really never know with that guy. So I don't know what to expect. One thing that I was wondering, because I was talking to my dad about this game the other day. And so this thing actually happened before the trade deadline. This game happened before the trade deadline. The big one. We had Jock, because I think Jock was actually up to bat when this game was called. We had Jock, but we did not have Rosario and Duvall and Soler. I believe that's correct. So are those guys allowed to play? Like that's what I want to know, because they're technically not a part of this like box score in this game. I think they have to be, but I was wondering this when I thought about this.
You kind of just broke my brain a little bit. I might have to tweet that out. I feel like that's
Yeah,
gonna mind bend a lot of
are
people.
they gonna are we gonna show up to the park and like the umps are gonna be like, yeah, those 3 guys like or 4 guys like they can't play, like get out of here.
That's
I mean,
funny
that would
though.
be huge. I don't know who we'd go. Would we have to like re-sign Abraham Amalte? Like, or is he allowed back? That's the other thing. Does he like come back since he's a free agent? Like, it's not a re-sign. Like, it's like he's like contractually obligated to come back and play for that game.
I feel like something would have been made of this before today if that was the case, but that's actually really funny.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about that. But yeah, I agree. I feel like they have to let everyone play, but I don't know how they're going to handle that. It's interesting. I will say the Padres. I do want to mention a couple more things about this Diamondbacks series, but looking ahead to the Padres, they've been, I think, the worst team in baseball, or up there with the worst teams in baseball over the last 30, 35 games.
They're only
They
5 games up on the Rockies in the wild card now.
I mean, they've completely imploded. It really is amazing, and a lot of it has to do with injuries. I mean, their rotation that was coming in looking like the best in baseball is now like featuring Jake Arrieta, who just got DFA'd. But that just shows you how bad things have gotten. I saw a picture that I sent to one of my friends that's a Padres fan out in LA, and it was like the picture from the beginning of the season where it had like Darvish and Snell and LeMay and all these guys, and then it was like Vince Velasquez, Jeff Samardzija, like Jake Arrieta. Like that was like the faces now over these things, and it was just like that's what they're dealing with right now. It is that bad. And Darvish, who was a Cy Young candidate last year, is now pitching like one of the worst pitchers in the majors ever since Spider Tack. I think he has something like an 8 or 9 ERA since the foreign substance ban. Which does that really
Yeah.
surprise you? The guy has like 27 pitches. How do you throw 27 pitches if you're not like manipulating the baseball?
Yeah, it's definitely it's easy to see that he's one of those guys where he's a primary fastball pitcher and he doesn't it's not like it's like a 99-mile-an-hour fastball. It's like 93, 95. Like good hitters are going to key in on that. It's like when we had against Juan Soto a couple weeks ago. I remember we were like, Brian, I call him Brian, like Snicker, why are you throwing Richard Rodriguez against probably the best fastball hitter in the league? I mean, at least one of the top 3. Like it just
Yeah.
didn't make any sense, which I know I always circle back to that, but I mean, it's one of those things to where like good hitters can hit his fastball.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be another great opportunity for the Braves to get these bats going. I mean, the offense was so sluggish during that 4-game losing streak against the Rockies and the Giants, but now they're getting going against the Diamondbacks, who have a terrible pitching staff. I mean, you look at Freddie, Austin, Duvall. I mean, they all look red hot against the Snakes, and you get another bad pitching staff in the Padres that we get to travel to. And if you can get this thing grooving, you know how these guys get. All it takes is a little bit of confidence, and this offense starts absolutely mauling teams. And that's scary for opponents. That's really scary for your opponents. I mean, now you have Freddie, Ozzie, Riley, all members of the 30 home run club. Dansby's not too far off. I want to say that's pretty damn good for a bunch of guys that are supposed to be really tired at the end of the season because they played too many games.
Yeah, definitely. It's tough when you have to play a full season of baseball like almost every player does every year that doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, I mean, If you don't know what we're referring about, there was the Yahoo Sports. I don't even know the girl's name who wrote the article. I could look it up. I think it was Hannah Keyes or so. I don't want to mess it up, but anyways, I'm not even really bashing her as much. I don't think she was trying to paint a picture of Freddie being a bully, but I think it was easy to take it that way if you read it. Definitely go check it out if you haven't. It is interesting because it does show like how big of a leader and the captain of the team that Freddie is, and he basically puts a lot of pressure on these guys like Ozzie and Freddie and the stars of the team to play every day. Unless you're the catcher who needs a day off, which really has been the Braves' way since Bobby Cox was around, since Terry Pendleton was here, which they mentioned in the article. It's not a Freddie thing. It's just something that was installed in him when he came up in the system. And, Chipper Jones was his leader, and now Freddie's that guy. And that's just something the Braves have expected. Now, if you want to have an argument whether that's the most conducive way of winning, I'll have that argument. But if you want to have an argument that Freddie is some sort of bully, that these guys are like scared to talk to, and like everything, the organization is running things through Freddie, I mean, that couldn't be further from the truth. This is just the way this organization is run. And this is how Freddie has been taught to lead, and that's how he leads. If the organization was like, all right, we're going to give you 20 days off, 15 days off, we're going to give some of these guys days off, Freddie would lead that way. But he is leading how the organization has brought him up. There is no animosity towards Freddie. I mean, I saw some ridiculous tweets. We don't talk about just top tweeting. I have a whole boatload of them. People saying, oh my God, I bet Alex Anthopoulos doesn't even want Freeman back. That's why he hasn't been re-signed. No, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because of this article from Yahoo Sports about Freddie holding people to the Brave standard. That's what it is, the Brave standard. Alex Anthopoulos doesn't want him back on the team. I mean, just some ridiculous thing. Freddie's wanted, Freddie's loved, Freddie's respected more than anything. And I think Freddie's been like kind of on Twitter doing these little like dance things for the 30 home run guys. Like, I think he's kind of sending a message, because he's not big. He's not a big tweeter. I think he's kind of sending a message like, nah, man, like it's all love here, boy. It's all love here.
Yeah, and I will push back on a certain point. I don't think that it doesn't have that much to do with what you said, but I do think that the Braves having a lack of depth is going to cause them problems. I think that might be why we're seeing Dansby wind down a little bit. I don't want to say he's tired, but it's one of those things where like Dansby can't take a break. Orlando Arcia had one hit in September before he got sit down. Like there's just not a lot of viable options off the bench, especially after injuries and things like that. And I think a lot of these guys are having to play a lot more than they probably would like to, but I don't think that they're just like you said, the whole idea I thought was a little ridiculous, but I do think that the Braves' lack of depth could cause them problems down the stretch if they get a little tired.
Well, I think depth has been an issue on this team for the last 3 years. I think maybe that has to do with money or whatever, but depth has always kind of been an issue. This is one of the deeper teams we have with Arcia and Duvall and Soler. I mean, I wish we had Acuna, but this is one of the deeper benches that we've had. But depth's definitely been a problem. And if you want to argue, whether guys should get more days off, absolutely. I think there's definitely an argument to be made there. I personally don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't think guys should have to play every day. Dansby clearly probably needs a day off, maybe two, right there. And there could be an argument, maybe needs 20 a year. Maybe that's better to win. But the depth's not there. And I just don't think it's a huge deal. I don't think him playing 155 games of baseball is like affecting him in the postseason. These guys aren't like tired and worn down in the postseason. I just think that's a ridiculous thing to say. And look what they're doing at the end of the season. So if they go out there and hit, 410 bombs over the last 10 games of the season, but then struggle in the postseason, are you going to say they're tired? Because they weren't tired a week ago. So I think it's a little ridiculous that people are blaming us being tired on and having poor results in the playoffs because we're tired. When the reality is, hey, the pitching's better. The teams are better. It's hard to win in the playoffs, and it's baseball. Like, things happen. You only get one chance. We didn't lose to scrubs. We lost to the Dodgers twice and the Cardinals. Like, I don't think it was because we were tired. That was not the main reason. Maybe a lack of depth. That's true. Tired, you can pass on me with that.
Yeah. No, but it's I just thought the whole thing was strange. I thought the timing was strange. It almost felt like somebody was trying to advance their favorite team's interests and maybe getting Freddie. I don't know. I don't even know who wrote it. I don't even think I ever read it, but
I don't know really what. I think the point was saying, I think more of her point was just trying to say, hey, teams should give their star players days off because that's the most conducive way of winning. But it did kind of paint Freddie as this like dictator bully in the clubhouse that like people are scared of almost, when I just really think it's more of a respect thing. Like, I don't think Dansby Swanson in any way is scared of Freddie Freeman, but like the way this story portrays him, I think it's just like a respect thing. And, Freddie gave him some shit. He got his day off, and the next day he was out there playing. And if Dansby gets a home run, guess who's going to be the first guy, slapping him on the ass saying, hell yeah, Freddie Freeman. That's who he is. He's the leader of this team. He's the heartbeat of this team. He needs to be here past this offseason. He's the number one priority. I wrote about it. There's no doubt about it. You could get everything else could not happen this offseason. You got to re-sign Freddie Freeman. So any nonsense that anyone wants to come up or, make out of this story that Freddie Freeman, Alex Anthopoulos might not want him. Freddie Freeman is a bad locker room presence. He's some bully. That's bullshit. That's just crap. That's all it is. It's crap. If you think that, you're stupid. That's all I can say. Just stop tweeting. Take a week off Twitter. Go smoke some weed. Go relax. Get out of here. But yeah, that's my tangent. I had to say it. I told you I wanted to talk about that because that was heated on my mind. But let's get into the upcoming schedule. I know we talked a little about the Padres. We got Fried and Yanoa going in game 1 and 2, and then we have that weird 5th spot. Obviously, I think Fried going to be an absolute stud. That's a 10 o'clock game on ESPN. You can expect him to go out there and probably throw 7 innings of 1 or 2 run ball. That's just what he's done every time out. He's struggled over the last 4 weeks. He hasn't gone 6 innings since August 28th. And then you have that 5th spot that's open. Are we going to go another bullpen game? Do we get Kyle Wright? Do we get Kyle Mueller? What do you think there?
If you want my opinion, I say let Kyle Wright have a go at it. That's probably not what's going to happen. They'll probably just use an opener again, which is whatever, I guess. You don't really have a lot of days off. I mean, I knew this was before the game got rained out against Colorado. It was supposed to be 10 straight days off, so they did get a day in there.
Yeah,
or 10 straight without a day off.
You got a day off after the San Diego series, and that's it for the rest of the season.
Yeah, so I guess you could use an opener. I don't know. I'd let Kyle Wright have a crack at it. San Diego's been struggling, and so maybe he could capitalize on that. But they are desperate, so that's something the Braves definitely got to watch out for.
I definitely think a lot of it kind of depends how these next 3 days pan out. If we win 3 and Philly loses 2 and we have a 5-game lead, maybe they do give Kyle Wright a chance or Kyle Mueller or whoever. But the way their bullpen game went the other day in the win over Arizona, they only gave up 1 run. Drew Smiley pitched the win, ended up getting the win. He pitched well. You obviously will have Touki Toussaint, condolences out to him. His dad died, but he should be back, so he'll be available. But Jesse Chavez, man, that dude, he just seems to you keep doubting him. You kind of throw his name out there, but it looks like he could be a big piece to this team, come playoff time. I mean, he's been electric in every situation they've thrown him in.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I kind of want to see Dylan Lee. I don't know if he'll be any good. His stuff isn't crazy good, and he throws he's literally a creative player in MLB The Show. He has a 94-mile-an-hour fastball, a changeup, and a curveball. But I mean, he's played really well in the minors, and he still hasn't made his major league debut. But like I said, the guy has a 1.5 run ERA, over the past 3 years, pretty much. So hey, you know what? Give him a shot. If he gets blown up, I mean, one of the other guys would probably get blown up anyways. So.
Yeah, and if you don't know who we're talking about, Dylan Lee was called up because Touki went on the bereavement list, and who went on the paternity list?
Edgar Santana. Congrats to the sex for Edgar Santana.
I mean, the Braves are out here just absolutely fucking. Let's talk about that. That's 3 babies we've had in the last month.
Well, it was Luke, and then it was Edgar, and it was Darno.
We had Darno, Luke, and then Edgar. So we have 3 new baby daddies. So congrats to all of them. And again, condolences to Touki. That's just terrible. Hopefully, I don't really know what else to say other than that, but that's just awful with the passing of his father. But yeah, no, I forget what we were talking about before that. I just got lost on that.
Dylan Lee.
Oh, Dylan Lee. Yeah. Dylan Lee, lefty. He's been one of the best minor league pitchers or relievers for quite some time. So it's kind of been weird that he hasn't gotten that chance in the majors yet, but the Marlins released him. Braves claimed him on waivers. He's been electric for them this whole season. So I'd like to see him. Hopefully we get to see him maybe today against the Diamondbacks or in that San Diego series, but it would be nice. But at the end of the day, he has no experience. I can't imagine they really think of him. I mean, he would have been called up a lot earlier if they thought he could be a piece to this team down the stretch and into the postseason.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so crazy to think about. I'm sure July 21st, Jock was probably batting leadoff, safe to say. Wouldn't it be so nice and just to come up in a 1-run game and Mr. Leadoff himself, Ronald, be leading off against the Padres down 1?
Yeah, I mean, that's the most disappointing aspect of this whole season because if you have Ronald on this team, the Braves go from, I mean, we're going to talk about World Series odds to end this show, but the Braves go to 15-1 odds to probably like 5-1 odds. I mean, he means that much to this team.
He would run away with the MVP too.
Oh, he would have ran away. He would have had like an 8 F4 this year. I mean, you saw what Matt, I know his last name, but Freddie Freeman went 3 for 5 yesterday with 2 doubles and a homer, got up to 4.3 F4. He finally passed Ronald Acuna for first on the team in F4 this season. Ronald hasn't played since early July, since before the All-Star break. I mean, what Ronald was doing this year was absolutely insane. And to be honest, like, it almost felt like underwhelming for him. Like, it felt like he could have been doing even more because he's just that talented. So it just absolutely sucks that he's not going to be a part of this. And this Braves team is built incredibly better than it was last year, but we just don't have Ronald. So
yeah, it's probably because we didn't get Tommy Milone only at the trade deadline this year. So
yeah. But now looking ahead past the Padres, this is going to likely decide the division. Hopefully, my hope is that the Braves, they currently have a 3-game lead. Hopefully they still have a 3-game lead going into that Philadelphia series because that means it would take a sweep to turn the tide. And you also have to remember that, Philly's lost an extra game than us, and we can always play Colorado at the end of the year because we have that makeup game. So if we're tied, we play Colorado basically most likely to decide the division. So hopefully we have a 3-game lead going into that series, but I'm looking at these pitching matchups, Jake, and I mean, it's a dream come true if you're a baseball fan. If it's like a 1-game or 2-game division lead, you get Anderson versus Wheeler, Morton versus Nola, and Fried versus Gibson. I mean, the 3 best pitchers on each team. So you're going to get best against best. And I'm sure they lined it up that way, knowing the schedule. But it's best against best. So that should be fun. And hopefully the Braves can clinch the division that next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at home at Truist Park. I'm sure it's going to be rocking there, even though it's September and during the week. But it'll still be rocking.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's funny they have the Mets for last. Like, did y'all really think that was going to be a thing again? Did you think it was going to be the Mets again? Because it just wasn't.
I mean, poor Mets. I mean, I don't even want to say poor Mets because I've just been. God, I mean, every episode of this podcast, I probably shit on the Mets. But I mean, how far out are they now? I mean, they got to be 7
I think
games
they're like
out.
7.5.
7. I mean, they have absolutely collapsed. I mean, talk about them and the Padres. And you can almost see it coming. That's kind of what those organizations do. They live off hype during the offseason, maybe get off to a hot start, but they just don't. And I don't want to say the same thing about San Diego because there's so many injuries to it, but I guess you could say the same thing about New York. Regardless, man, it just doesn't seem like they can ever put it together. Everyone has injuries. We had Ronald Acuna go down. Mike Soroka tore his Achilles again. 2 of our best players are not on the roster. And we're
Travis d'Arnaud was out for 3.5 months.
Yeah, Yanoa was out for 4 months. So every team has injuries. I don't want to sit here and blame injuries. We were pitching Kyle Muller and Tucker Davidson early in the year. We were able to bounce back, make the right moves at the deadline. None of them were blockbuster, but they were all the right moves. I mean, Duvall, Soler, Rosario. I mean, how about that guy? I mean, Eddie Rosario got the guy for Pablo Sandoval. He has like a 1,200 OPS for us so far.
We were talking about that too, and everybody was looking at the stats and be like, "Oh, he has a 658." Or no, they probably talked about his batting average if they know that little about.
No, their his OPS this year was low, but if you look at the 3 years before that,
oh no, I'm just talking about people that were like, "Oh, this guy's not good." I'm like, "No, dude, Eddie Rosario is solid." Like,
yeah,
really
I mean, this was a guy that we've talked about probably 2 or 3 off seasons in a row, or like in trade talks, we've been trying to get him, as kind of that. Fourth outfielder.
I found a February article where we had him as a free agent target.
Yeah. So, I mean, Rosario's been a guy that we've been targeting for a while. He really is. I mean, you can see now he's a great player. He's got power, even though he's kind of a small guy. He can play every position, and he's been unbelievable. He already has, I think, six home runs for us. He hit for the cycle on 5 pitches the other day. That is ridiculous. How do you even? That's got to be the nuttiest stat I've ever seen. Because cycles.
It's like a 25-second highlight. Like you could show like the whole cycle, and it would be like a 30-second highlight.
Yeah, like his live at bats. Like just one pitch. Okay, 5th pitch. I mean, it was unbelievable watching that happen. And cycles are almost as rare as no hitters. They're about the same. There's as many cycles as there are. There might even be less, but they're not talked about enough. And the fact that there was a cycle on 5 pitches, like the only thing crazier would be the cycle on 4 pitches, and that would have to be the rarest thing to ever happen. A cycle on 4 pitches, and 5 pitches is right there. I mean, that was a record, correct? It had.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a record by 3 pitches. which is a
something
lot
that,
when you're talking about something like this.
yeah, that means something that's never been done. And I mean, just another example of guys that Alex Anthopoulos have gotten at the trade deadline. I mean, how about Soler leading off now? And I don't even like it. I mean, could you imagine 2 months ago talking about us Jorge Soler leading off for a baseball team? And it feels right because he can take his walks. He's actually hitting for a decent average for us, but I think his OBP is up around 400.
It doesn't need to be Ozzy, and Ozzy's been playing much better since he hasn't had to do that anymore.
Yeah. And you kind of see Ozzy's also, I think he benefits a lot from having a guy like Austin Riley right behind him, where you kind of have to attack Ozzy. And obviously, Ozzy's one of the best pure hitters on this team. So I think he's benefiting a lot from being sandwiched in between Freddie and Austin Riley. I think he's benefiting a ton from that. And Soler's just doing his thing. He either hits a bomb or he takes his walk. But that's typically what you think. But he's gotten a lot of singles. I mean, I've been so impressed with Soler, and it's weird to say because I've said all season, the Braves don't really have a leadoff man. He might be the best option. It kind of feels like that.
Yeah. And one more thing I did want to say too about the Phillies before we get off, that whole thing. Don't sleep on the Pirates. I think they're 14-6 over their last 20.
Are they really? I mean, they were 4-3 against us, so it could easily be and the Phillies haven't played well. I mean, I watched all those Orioles games that they played, and they won by 1 last night. They won by an extras the night before, and then they lost like 2-0. And the one they won in extras, they were being 1 hit going into the 8th inning, and they were able to muster a run. So, the Orioles are arguably the worst team in baseball, and they struggled with them. And the Pirates are definitely a step up in competition, if you can really call it that.
Definitely. Yep.
Yeah. But the one guy that I did want to talk about that hasn't been doing well from the trade deadline, Richard Rodriguez. I wrote an article about him, Alex Anthopoulos, potentially regretting that deal. I think he probably will because I'm more of a big fan. I'm kind of a big fan of Bryce Wilson, even though he hasn't shown very much with the Pirates either. But the guy's still only 24. I think he's going to be a major league pitcher. But the Braves had a surplus in that area. But this is more about Rodriguez. The guy, ever since the Spider Tack ban, has been, not a good reliever. His surface levels numbers are okay, but that's just because all of his home runs just have been luckily solo shots. I mean, even when he gets outs, it's hard outs. I mean, just absolutely line outs, deep fly balls. And he just doesn't have the trust in any secondary pitch. I mean, he has 93 fastballs just kind of pounded down the middle of the plate. I mean, dude, you don't walk anybody, cool, but that's not going to cut it, especially against a good team in the playoffs. There's no way.
I think for what you gave up for him, I think it was okay enough just to kind of get you through the regular season because he has had some big innings. And we're talking about a Braves team that's still not guaranteed to make the playoffs. I think they will. So I think for now, unless he just absolutely kills us in one of these last few games, I think at least for the regular season, he's been worth the price. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't think you can really use him in the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, what is his role in the postseason? I think it's like an up 5, down 5 situation, or at least 3. It has to be a 3+. I'm going with I mean, let's go through. I mean, who are you going with? Who would you pitch, or how do I say this? Who would you pitch him over in the bullpen of the potential guys in there? I don't think, is there
Drew
a guy?
Smiley.
Yeah, probably Drew Smiley. But I'm definitely going with Webb, Martin.
Maybe Chris Martin. Chris Martin's on the fringe. He's close.
Chris Martin's been pitching bad by at least he at least has a secondary offering. He can at least throw a curveball, a slider, or whatever that pitch is.
Yeah, I still have a bad taste in my mouth from that Dodgers game. So maybe Chris Martin. He's on the fringe. But we're talking like 1.5 guys.
Yeah, I mean, Tukey. Would you go Tukey or would you go?
Yeah.
You go Tukey?
Yeah.
I mean, Tomlin, I would go Rich Rod. I mean, is there anyone? I mean, Mentor for sure.
Tomlin, I pray to God Josh Tomlin's not on the playoff roster. But
yeah, I mean, there's no way he comes back on the roster in any way. He's gone. But yeah, I mean, I think that's where we're at with Rich Rod. The good thing is we have him for 2 more years. So, I mean, if he can just be like a solid 6th inning guy moving in the next 2 seasons and just be reliable, 3 ERA, 3.5 ERA, which, I mean, listen, he was for 3 years with the Pirates, he posted an average of 2.8 ERA. So if he can get back to that, he's golden. I just worry. I don't know how he was so effective without being able to throw a secondary pitch. And how long has that been a problem?
Because his 2-seam fastball moves 6 inches farther off the plate than
it doesn't make any sense. I mean, I was looking at his baseball savant. I mean, it's literally 90% fastballs, and they're all upper middle of the plate. It's I mean, I don't know, but
That's probably why his FIP is so high. His FIP's almost at 7 or 8.
his
But
FIP's almost at 7, but his FIP with the Pirates was good. But then again, that spider tack thing, Sam, who one of our writers, Sam Peebles, wrote something when we traded for him, and he was actually talking to me before the trade deadline.
it
Saying,
was before
hey,
we traded. No, he wrote that before we traded for him too.
well, I don't know what happened, but anyways, he was at least warning us, like, hey, the guy has like a 4.85 ERA, and his RPM on his fastball has gone down almost 300 spins since the spider tag situation. Red flag, red flag, red flag. And obviously there's something to it, but how much? I mean, obviously it's affecting his grip on his curveball. I'm like, throw a damn other pitch, man. It kills me, dude. I can't stand it. But hopefully he figures it out over the next 2 years. Wrapping this up. This is a quick episode for you guys because not too much to talk about. It's really just the playoff race. World Series odds. This is fun. We are listed at, depending where you look, 15 to 17 to 1 odds right now. Every other team that has clinched the division is at around 8 or less. So I could not think, I mean, how are we not the best bet right now? I mean, if you think we're going to wrap up this division, 15 to 17-1 odds for a team that's punched their ticket in the divisional round, sign me up. Where do I sign up for that? I guess I know where to sign up for it, but
well, I don't know. I hate to say this. It makes me almost nauseous. I worry about the Cardinals because they are hot at the right time. And if they, I mean, we might.
I mean, in the NLCS, I mean, shit, bro. I hope we play them. I don't give a shit. Give me the Cardinals, bro. Give me the Dodgers. I mean, I'm not really scared of the Giants, but
no, we can beat the Giants. I think the Brewers are a really good team, but
you'd rather play the Cardinals than the Giants?
No.
You'd rather play the Giants than the Cardinals, I meant. So you'd rather play the Giants?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's interesting.
No question.
I mean, dude, but they've been playing so I don't know. I mean, I definitely think I don't know. That's a good one because but they both are just those.
The Giants are a better team, but the Cardinals are hot. Like that's the worst thing in the postseason. It doesn't matter. Look at the Nationals a couple years ago.
You're right.
In that World Series, it didn't count. They're hot.
And those teams that win that playoff game, scary. That wild card game, they are a scary ass team because they just
the Brewers and the Mets.
They just played.
Trent Grisham had that ball go right under his glove. Yeah.
They just played the scariest game of the season, a 1-game playoff, do or die. Like if you can get through that, you can get through anything the rest of the way. I mean, you already played a game 7, so game 1, 2, 3, and 4, it feel like nothing.
Yeah,
it feel like nothing for them. And I think there's, but dude, I'm telling you though, I've said it many times. I think this Braves team could be better than the one last year, and we have more experience. And like we're no longer the young babies on the track. We're we might have young players, but like we have an experienced postseason roster. All these guys have been to NLCSs. All these guys have played multiple postseasons. Charlie Morton has won a World Series. He has pitched the final out in a World Series. And these guys have shown they don't blink. I think that matters. And dude, I mean, I know but if you go, I mean, look, we got Rosario, we got Soler, we got Duvall, and we got Austin Riley who's playing like an MVP. Do those guys, I think that makes up for kind of what we had in Ronald Acuna last year.
I don't know. It's a fair question. I think it's definitely a fair point.
But then think about the rotation. I mean, we're not starting Bryce Wilson or Kyle Wright.
Hopefully not. I'm just kidding. But
unless we trade back for Bryce Wilson here.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. The only thing is, I don't know. It's so hard not having Ronald. Ronald's just the guy. Like of course, Adam Duvall and Austin Riley have done that this year. I do think they're more well-rounded, but like there's nobody, you can give me any pitcher, I don't care who it is. If I have Ronald Acuna Jr. at the plate, I know that like something amazing can happen. Like I think Riley's been that guy this year, but
that really is just like how unbelievable. That's just a testament to how great Ronald is. I mean, the guy we're talking about, the best young player in the game. I mean, him and Juan Soto. Those are
like the Hawks not having Trey. Like you're like, yeah, the Hawks can still win. The Hawks are still a really good team, and they're like very well rounded. But without Trey, like,
yeah, but it's baseball though. I mean, like, look, they traded Bryce Harper from the Nats, and they won a World Series. So, it's possible. I mean, I think Ronald's better than Bryce, but it's gonna be interesting. I just think right now it's 17 to 1. I just think you're getting such great odds. I think those things probably go down to 8 to 10 once the Braves clinch the division. I would have to imagine. But I mean, we'll probably play the Brewers in the first round if we make it. I mean, we've kind of talked about this last week, but that's a team with zero playoff experience, really. I mean, not any big playoff experience. And I think that matters. I mean, there's going to be a lot of pressure in these games. And, the Braves lineups, what is Jared? What is his name? What's his last name?
Carabas.
Carabas. Before I call him something and you get me. Yeah. What does the Braves lineup do? It fucks. I'm telling you, it fucks. Even without
apparently, literally too, since they're all having kids. But.
Yeah, literally, it fucks. We are a team full of fucking. All right, guys.
I will say one last point because Gary Sheffield Jr. said when he was on here, it's usually not the best team that wins it all.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. I wrote that today when I was writing about the World Series odds for sure. I mean, like you said, the Cardinals, hot ass team right now, and who knows? Maybe the Braves win 7 out of the next 9 games and come in winning 13 out of 14, and they're the hottest team in baseball. I mean,
well, we got to pull firm for one game because I don't want to see the Dodgers with Trey Turner and Corey Seager and Max Scherzer, who's been incredible this year.
Betts and
Julio Urias leading the NL in wins if you care about that. But yeah.
Yeah, no, Julio Urias, God, that guy still gives me nightmares for closing us out. Literally just came in and pitched the last 3 innings as perfect as he possibly could. I don't even think he gave up a hit.
No.
Just absolutely dominated us. God, why do I have to end this podcast like that? All right, well, yeah, like you said, hopefully the Cardinals, hey, hot Cardinals team playing the Dodgers. I'd love to see them knock them out. Of course, the Dodgers could win their division. They're only 2 games back, so a lot of baseball still left to be played. I think we got, 10 games left after this? 9 games?
Yeah, something like that. Because the Braves' magic number is 9. It's got to be a little bit. I think they're maybe like 11, maybe.
Yeah, because we also have that Rocky game that we could always make up, and then we have the one game that's like suspended, so that's 11 plus the one we played today, so 12. All right, whatever. I'm just counting now. All right, guys, thank you guys for listening again. We will be back next week, hopefully to break down a division title and be looking at the Milwaukee Brewers for their first round matchup. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll be back next week.